Hey everybody, it is Tuesday and it's time for De-JOE-tional. So this week we're going to talk about clean slate. Again, it's the second week of our series that we're doing with GPS. And this week we're going to talk about transformation and how wiping that slate clean can transform your life and transform your day and your week and your month and your whole experience with things. So we started our conversation with the youth group on Sunday with when was the last time someone surprised you with a gift or with a random act of kindness? Now think about that for a second. When was the last time someone surprised you with a gift or with a random act of kindness? And of course, dealing with middle school and high schoolers, they had nothing to say. And so I had to give an example. And I talked about the times when people through drive-thrus would pay for my meal or I would pay for somebody else's meal. And that happens all the time. You pay it forward through there. I don't know if you've done that before, but I challenge you to do that. It's a pretty cool experience. Pastor Jay just did it for me actually on Sunday evening. Went to Shivers, and I happened to be in line right behind Pastor Jay. And he paid for our frozen custard the other night. So that was very cool of him. So I shared about a time a few years ago when it happened for me the first time. I was on my way to school and I was not in the mood to go to school, as many people are. And I always went through McDonald's to get a drink, and the person in front of me paid for it. And it instantly made my day better. I was grumpy and crabby again, not wanting to go, and instantly my day had been transformed into something better. So being surprised in good ways that you aren't expecting can have a way of making an even ordinary day extraordinary. So if it hasn't happened to you, maybe you should do it to someone else. I've done it before in the drive-thru where I pay for somebody's drink or meal right behind me, and it makes me feel better. I really, when I'm in a bad mood, I do that, and it makes me feel better. So there's a man in the Bible named Paul, who's formerly known as Saul, and he was an evil man. I mean, he was downright nasty. He hated Christians. He persecuted Christians. He was just not good. And I joked with the kids that he was the kind of guy that would put pineapple on pizza. He was that bad. We have a little inside joke in the youth group about pineapple on pizza. That people that put pineapple on pizza are just wrong. You're just wrong. Anyway, so we started talking about Saul's transformation to Paul. And here's the scripture from Acts 9, various verses. Meanwhile, Saul was uttering threats with every breath and was eager to kill the Lord's followers. So he went to the high priest. He requested letters addressed to the synagogues in Damascus, asking for the cooperation in the arrest of any followers of the way he found there. He wanted to bring them, both men and women, back to Jerusalem in chains. As he was approaching Damascus on this mission, a light from heaven suddenly shone down around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. And the voice replied, "I am Jesus, the one you are persecuting. Now get up and go into the city, and you will be told what to do." The men with Saul stood speechless, for they heard the sound of someone's voice, but saw no one. Saul picked himself up off the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he was blind. So his companions led him by the hand to Damascus. He remained there, blind, for 3 days, and did not eat or drink. So after that, let's skip down to the next part in Acts 9. Immediately he preached the Christ in the synagogues, that he is the Son of God. So we all know that after that experience, he was transformed. He then became a believer. Then all who heard were amazed. He said, "Is this not he who destroyed those who called on his name in Jerusalem and has come here for that purpose, so that he might bring them bound to the chief priests? But Saul increased all the more in strength and confounded the Jews who dwelt in Damascus, proving that this Jesus is the Christ. So this is the message that Paul preached about Jesus. A person who at once hated Jesus, hated the idea of Jesus, hated those who loved Jesus, and has now become one of Jesus' biggest supporters. If it wasn't for Paul's journey to Damascus and God's gift of forgiveness, which provided a clean slate, the entire Christian history might have shaped up very differently. The story of Paul is the story of redemption in Jesus Christ, and a perfect illustration of what happens when we exchange our mess for a clean slate in Jesus Christ. Last week we talked about Noah and how God was so fed up with humanity that he completely wiped the slate clean and started over. And here we have Jesus taking one of the most vile human beings at the time and wiping the slate clean. From Saul, the persecutor of Christians, to Paul, one of the greatest Christians known to man, God did a truly amazing transformational work. Paul went on to become one of Jesus' 12 disciples and one of the most popular contributors of the New Testament. He wrote at least 13 of the New Testament's 27 books. Now imagine Paul's surprise on the road that day. Even deeper than the initial shock he felt, there was an intense and undeserved love shown to Paul by God that would forever change him. Paul certainly was not seeking Jesus when Jesus was seeking him. That's one of the sentences that I wanted to hit home with the youth on Sunday. Paul was not seeking Jesus, but Jesus was seeking him. So remember that in your own life. If you think you've made some bad choices or things aren't really going your way, and maybe you've started to doubt God a little bit and doubt Jesus a little bit, that's okay. You don't have to seek him. He will seek you. You just have to be open to it. A clean slate is about accepting God's forgiveness in our own lives and extending that forgiveness to others. I wonder how different our world would be if we all used Jesus' example of forgiveness as a model. That's exactly what he did with Paul, and it's exactly what he'll do with us. The beautiful part of all of this is that God doesn't require us to take the first step. Like I just said, he will seek you. He offers it freely if we are willing to admit we need it, then simply accept it. We've talked many, many times over the last couple of years about how divisive we've become, how we look for faults in each other and we exploit those differences, how we make fun of those that have different opinions and different views than us. We don't just disagree anymore. We go to war with those people. What if we would act as Jesus did with Paul? As much as people have hurt us, as much as people have tried to make fun of us and persecute us, what if we wipe the slate clean and just move forward? No, we don't do that. We tend to hold on to it. Remember the example last week when I had people hold an object up? And this isn't heavy. It's my ear pods. It's not heavy, but I bet in 5 minutes it'd feel a little bit heavier. In 10 minutes it'd feel really heavy. Half hour, I'd probably be like this. I wouldn't be able to hold it up because we tend to hold on to things. And when we hold on to things, it's like drinking poison. You've heard of this. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. we've got to let things go. We've got to not let things bother us. But we also have to quit bothering people. It's time for us to have a clean slate. It's time for us to wipe away the negativity of things and start looking at positives and move forward. When we have accepted the forgiveness of Jesus for ourselves, we are restored into a right relationship with Jesus Christ. And we can pass that forgiveness to others who have wronged us and live in freedom. Quit being bogged down by the differences. And let's start grasping the possibilities of being positive. The possibility of being on the same page as everyone. The possibility of moving forward in the love of Christ. So that's my De-JOE-tional for this week. Blessings, everyone. I hope you have a fabulous week. We will see you next week.